order at 7 p.m. If you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Copeland,
Here.
Tom Baylor,
Here.
Kathy Sherman is absent, Jeff Guard,
Here.
Melina Meyer,
Here.
Ann Schaefer,
Here.
David Allison is absent, and David Gleason is absent, but that's a quorum of council.
Okay, does council have any, approval of the agenda?
Second.
Motion Baylor, second. Jeff, any proposed additions or amendments to the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda will stand approved as submitted. Does council have any conflicts of interest or ex parte communications to declare? Okay, hearing none, we have guest speakers today from the incident management team. Dr. Sanders. Do we have any speakers from the incident management team? Helen?
Are you on?
Update. We, for the community's reference and for all of our awareness, I think I'm not mic'd. Is this one mic'd? Yes, there we go. There is a COVID community spread outbreak in Cordova at this time. We do have 13 confirmed COVID-19 cases. We are asking that the community be mindful of the fact that COVID is not yet over. If you are fully vaccinated, you can rest assured that you are safe from any detrimental impacts of COVID. If you're not vaccinated, we ask that you take extra precautions at this time and be careful about wearing a mask, keeping social distance so that you do not succumb and become another person involved in this COVID outbreak. So we're hoping to nip it in the bud, but it is definitely something that everyone needs to be aware of. So I bring that to your attention. We do expect the number will go up. 4th of July was a busy weekend for many people with a lot of visitors and visiting, and there is going to be a testing pod this Friday from 9 to 11 at CCMC, and we encourage those people who might be experiencing symptoms and might be concerned about whether they do have COVID to get themselves tested. It's free. Bring an ID and an insurance card if you happen to have one. And for those people that are symptomatic, we ask that you stay home, take care of yourself, and feel better, and keep your fellow community members safe.
Thank you. Then did we have Bitney calling in?
Yes.
Want to do that here under guest speakers?
Sure. John, are you online?
She had him on reports for officers.
I had him under city manager's report.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay.
Okay. Now we have audience comments regarding agenda items. Would anyone in the audience like to speak to any items on the agenda this evening? Okay, seeing none. Chairpersons and representatives of boards and commissions. Do we have a CCMC Authority Board representative? School board representative? Okay, seeing none. We don't have a student council report this evening. So approval of the consent calendar. Would council like to remove any of those items, 5, 6, 7, or 8? Okay, hearing none on the consent calendar, we have resolution 07-21-31, which is a resolution accepting a coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds. We have the minutes of the June 16th, 2021 council public hearing and the June 16th, 2021 regular council meeting. And then per charter section 2-8 and municipal code 3.12.022, recordation of excused absences of council members Ann Schaefer and Kathy Sherman, and excused absence of council member Melina Meyer from the June 16th, 2021 regular meeting. Roll call vote, please.
On the consent calendar, Melina Meyer,
Yes.
Dave Allison is absent, Tom Baylor,
Yes.
Jeff Guard,
Yes.
Kathy Sherman is absent, David Gleason is absent, Ann Schaefer.
Yes.
Consent calendar is approved.
Okay, so the minutes were approved in that consent calendar, and we don't have bids to consider. So reports of officers. For the mayor's report, I don't have much to report. Have been getting periodic updates from John Bitney through the course of the legislature's sessions, especially over the last couple of weeks, and especially regarding the status of the Harbor Tier 1 match funds. And I just wanted to mention that Representative Stutz will be in Cordova during the salmon jams, so she'll be out and about. I don't have her exact schedule mapped out, but she'll certainly be at the salmon jam events, and as always, welcomes community feedback and engagement while she's here. That's all I had. City manager's report.
I want to introduce our newest employee, Kevin Johnson. He is our new city planner. He just traveled the Alcan with his wife and 3 cats. 4 cats, excuse me, and arrived a week, not even, well, I guess just a week ago, Monday, via ferry, and he is here and has a place to live and is exploring our town and getting to know people, and we are delighted to have him on the ground. So welcome, Kevin, and thank you for joining us in Cordova. Do you want to say a word or something? Yeah.
Yeah, just quickly, I'm really excited to be here. It's been a beautiful city so far, even with the, I think, 2 days of sun so far. However, I come from the Pacific Northwest, so I love this weather, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, today was my second day, already getting a lot done, and excited for the Planning Commission next week for the conditional use permit for the low-income housing project that's proposed. So. And I look forward to presenting at some of your meetings as well.
Thank you and welcome. We did have 5 minutes of sun today too. We just saw it. Yeah, the phone line shouldn't be active, so.
Do we answer it?
We don't? Okay. Maybe it's John Bitney.
Because it's active, we have a teleconference already on.
What's his?
So with that, John, have you joined us, John Bitney? I'm going to text him right now. We have been very active this year, and John has been a godsend this year. As you know, that this wasn't a typical year. We had a special session, then we had another special session, and we're going to have yet another special session. So I look forward to you guys hearing from him as to his expectations on how things are going to progress. But it's been a whirlwind, and we still don't have many answers that we were hoping to have. But we do have one critical answer, and that is we do have $5 million from the state of Alaska for our Tier 1 Harbor Grant confirmed. So after many years of waiting, that's a go. On Monday, the staff will be submitting the RAISE grant, which last year was the BUILD grant, $25 million request to complete the South Harbor project, and there are other funding requests in the wings. So we're actively seeking significant funding to take care of this long overdue harbor project. So I'm really pleased to report we have a piece of that ready to go.
Do you need that number?
Yes, conference ID number.
33344. I bet I forgot
Okay.
to tell him that.
John is just waiting for that number, and he will be joining us momentarily. And as I said, here he is. Is this you, John?
Yes, sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, I just gave a little preface here, but I would love for you to jump in and explain this complicated world we are facing with a budget that's still not completely done.
Yes, thank you, Helen. Again, my apologies. The governor called a special session to begin August 2nd, which was intended at the time that he called it to take up budget items that were at that time left unresolved. And those were mainly items that were in the budget that required a three-quarter vote of the legislature, a supermajority, because it involved using money from the Constitutional Budget Reserve Fund, which was where the three-quarter vote requirement came from. And the items that were covered by that vote were a number of things in the budget that had been directly funded by the Constitutional Budget Reserve, which included both power cost equalization, a large portion of permanent fund dividends, and then in addition, there was also money for municipal assistance, 2/3 of school bond debt reimbursement, and a whole host of other capital projects around the state that were set up and selected to be part of that pool as kind of a way to, if the vote failed, which it ended up doing, was to make sure that all areas of the state somehow felt the impact of that vote failing. And what the underpinnings of the political deal that was necessary, I guess, to pull that vote together to get the three-quarter vote revolved around the desire on the part mainly of the House Republican Minority Caucus to support the governor in trying to see that the state paid a much larger cash dividend, or the permanent, it's called permanent fund dividend, but it's in recent years it's not funded necessarily from permanent fund earnings. It's just calculated based upon the formula that we've used for many years to calculate what the dividend amount can be. What has happened, of course, since that special session was called to take up and try to come to an agreement on that vote to finish up that portion of the budget is that the governor, last week did a bunch of vetoes to the rest of the budget that was passed with the general fund portion of the state, which included the remaining portion of the dividend. It had gone from what had been proposed to be $1,100, and then when the PBR vote failed, it went to $525, and he then subsequently vetoed that to zero, as well as a number of other items in the budget, including school construction and major maintenance lists, basically the remainder of any funding for municipal assistance going forward, a number of capital projects. He didn't do himself any relationship building with the legislature by vetoing all their per diem for next year. Some of a large portion of the forward funding that was to come online for the marine highway system, and a whole host of other things that I'm sure most everyone has read about in the paper and what have you. And the point of what I'm getting at is that by now adding those vetoes sort of into the political landscape, the relationship between everybody is at kind of a very low point right now at this point in time, as far as their ability to kind of reach and begin to work together on some consensus to come to any kind of a supermajority vote. It was supposed to be bridged, if you will, by creating a fiscal policy working group that was comprised of majority and minority members in both the House and Senate to try to reach sort of an overall fiscal agreement to come to a three-quarter vote majority. And they met for the first time today. And so what's timely about this, and I guess what I think is important to take away is my takeaway from today's meeting and sort of all of this that just happened in the last week is that it's clear that in order to resolve these bigger issues that are sort of still hanging out there in the budget, that it looks pretty clear that it's going to take more time than just meeting in August to come to a resolution on them. There's a lot of talk at the leadership level with the, Speaker Louise Stutes and President Peter Machicki and the governor about now perhaps a longer, shall we say, cooling off period and having that special session occur either in September or possibly October. It does need to happen for a number of reasons. So I feel confident saying it will happen, but I think at this point it's going to take just more time for not only just to cool off, but also to sort of get some more consensus built in terms of what it is that they're willing to come to an agreement upon. The driver behind them getting together is that they do need to fund power cost equalization. You can't just let that program just go away and expect people out in rural Alaska to pay 100% of the cost of their energy. It's just not affordable in many of the villages, as I'm sure many well know. And in addition to that, the special session was also intended to take up a lot of the balance of the federal relief funds that are available to the state, where the guidelines for that money had not come available to the state, from the U.S. Treasury Department until late enough in the regular session that they put a lot of the decisions about how that money would be spent off until they'd had more time to read those guidelines. And there's a desire to try, now that we've had a chance to read them more, put that money to work and not just let it sit around, if you will, until the next regular session next year. So I hope I'm not confusing things, but I guess what I wanted to summarize for the group is that there will be a special session. I myself am doubtful that the legislature will be ready to meet in August in a fashion where they're going to be able to come together to resolve this. Just based upon what I've seen in the last few days, and especially today. But it's clear that with the issues that are out there, they do need to come together and decide on this sometime before the next regular session in January. And I realize that leaves a lot unknown, but that is just literally where things are at as of this moment.
So, John, if I may, what that means to Cordova is that, as my understanding is that the ARPA funds, the American Rescue Plan Act funds that are the federal fiscal relief for COVID relief funds for this calendar year, have not been approved for distribution to communities, so we will not be seeing that until such time as the legislature meets either in special session or regular session. So that may not be a number we can look forward to this year. It's about $500 and something thousand for this city. And the other thing is that unresolved, and I'm not quite sure where we were in the budget with school bond debt reimbursement, if there's still 33% in the budget or if it's down to zero. But that was another number.
33%.
Okay, so we're at 33%. We budgeted for 50%. And then the other thing is municipal assistance, which is another number that we, again, had budgeted for, but really at this point in time may not be able to count on. Was there any other big numbers? I don't think so. I think those are the three that we would be concerned about.
Those are the main three, exactly, Helen, that the city should be concerned about. But obviously, the power cost equalization is I would say, would probably be sort of a fourth thing just for the community in general.
Right. Thank you.
And does council have other questions of Brittany? So John, not to put you on the spot, but I think you might know just off the cuff, that Alaska Marine Highway System Governance Board bill, did that include that forward funding for Alaska Marine Highway?
It did. Now, the forward funding has been vetoed, so at this point, the operations budget for the Marine Highway is what I would categorize as status quo from what it was. I wouldn't characterize it as being cut when compared to the last year, if you will. But it was disappointing not to see the forward funding get approved, obviously. That bill is still currently sitting awaiting signature on the governor's desk right now.
Okay, and that's why I asked, because he's not vetoing the bill, just the budget that includes that funding.
That's correct, and he stated in his vetoes that once the bill is in place and a board is put in place, that he is still open and he had made commitments prior that he would support forward funding once it was in place. Yeah,
that's great. That bill passed 57-0. It seems almost impossible how much support there was for it. So, all right, thank you. Any other questions, council? All right, well, thank you very much for the update. Appreciate it. And of course, all your work shepherding that.
But all congratulations on Harper.
Yeah, and that, of course, that one single pressing goal to get the Tier 1 grant funding and navigating that through all this these gymnastics.
Indeed.
Okay.
Hope that's helpful.
Absolutely. I'm seeing nods in the room and on the phone.
Well, very good. Well, I look forward to coming and seeing everyone in Cordova here soonest.
Likewise. Bring some sun with you.
You got it.
And did you have more on your report, Helen?
I do have, I can answer any questions around the insurance agenda item that's also under my report. 2021-22 liability insurance renewal. I put a memo in there dated July 2nd. It's on page 8 and 9. It shows the coverages, which are normal for us, and the premium costs. There's a rather significant increase in premiums, and as we all know from any of us who have to pay insurance, it does not go down typically. So this is reflective of a number of things. But again, if you have any specific questions, my memo more or less covers it. We did add a marine pollution, anticipating or acknowledging the harbor project. Cyber was picked up in the past. Now we're carrying the premium for that because there's been so many cyber attacks on governments across the country that it is now a standalone that we could opt in or out of, but it has been a big issue for municipal governments across the country. And those are the basic kind of changes, percentage increases here and there are to be anticipated. And that's it for my report, if no one has any questions on the liability.
Okay, Councilman Baylor.
Yeah, thank you. On page 9 there, where it says increase 9% mainly due to payroll. So our payroll costs go up, our insurance costs go up. Is that what you're telling us?
Yes, that's exactly it. And we experience, it means we had some workman's comp liability claims that caused a premium increase as well.
Okay. Well, the workman's comp is that, that's on all the department heads to kind of make sure everybody's operating safely. But I just commenting on the due to payroll. we pass the budget, there's raises in there, and I respect that folks need to make a living wage, but sometimes people that don't run businesses or just work for other people don't realize the added cost above and beyond what their salary is. So all of those things figure in when we sit down and pass budgets and talk about wages. Does this have anything connection with the email that we got about the broker, or is that a whole different subject?
No, so that is health insurance.
Okay, thank you. I'll address that with you later.
Okay, other questions, council, regarding insurance or the manager's report? Okay, I will revert to the mayor's report for just a minute. I was asking Brittany those questions about the bills because Representative Stutes has been working with the governor to encourage him to come to Cordova to sign that Alaska Marine Highway System bill and the bridge naming bill for Irene Weber. And doesn't have an answer yet, but feedback has been favorable so far. So that would be an opportunity for us to, I guess, thank some of the change in funding and priorities for the Marine Highway System and some of Cordova's other goals, including the harbor, and also to reiterate our goals and needs from the state administration. So we'll just try to communicate that before the Salmon Jam if that transpires, so the community's aware of that. Do you have a clerk's report, Tina?
I don't. I can say last Thursday I put approximately 1,200 tax bills in the mail, so people have been calling and paying, so. And
Okay, thank you. As council, we have correspondence from the Cordova Volunteer Fire Department Board of Managers and also from the Pioneer Women regarding fill lot proposal. Any comments on correspondence?
Oh, I still hold out that there'll be some kind of a business on that fill lot at some day, but we'll see what happens.
Okay. Other comments, council? Okay, so under ordinances and resolutions, we have resolution 07-21-32, and that's a resolution of the Council of the City of Cordova, Alaska, approving the license for a mobile restaurant for Soup or Sane.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion, Baylor, and second, Guard. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councilman Baylor?
I think everything's in here in order, so I don't have any objections.
Okay, to your second, Councilman Guard.
No, no comments. Looks good.
Okay, any further discussion, council? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Next item is Resolution 07-21-33, and that's a resolution of the Council of the City of Cordova, Alaska, updating its encouragement to the state of Alaska and the U.S. Secretary of Commerce to declare fisheries disasters for the Copper River and Prince William Sound Management Area as follows: the 2018 Chinook and sockeye salmon, and 2020 Chinook, sockeye, chum, pink, and coho salmon, and to encourage the same to declare a condition of economic disaster in Cordova as a result.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion, Guard, and second, Baylor. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councilman Guard?
No, I think this is partially housekeeping. We didn't get done what we thought we were doing the first time around, so it's just getting our ducks in a row so we can bring home any dollars we can to the community.
Okay, and Councilman Baylor, to your second.
Yeah, I guess I've got some questions. I'm not sure I support this. I guess where's the financial impacts from COVID-19? How did the COVID-19 stop the fish from coming in, if that's what they're telling me? Or I guess I'm not understanding how that harmed anything. The canneries were operational, right?
Yeah, this isn't about COVID. This is strictly about the fish returns. And in order to declare an economic disaster in this way, the dollar value of the fish returning in a particular year has to be a certain percentage lower than previous years, a 5-year average. So we had put in the last time that we were basically speaking specifically of the Copper River and Prince William Sound, Chinook and Sockeye, and I think Coho, and it was requested that we add the pink salmon, which had been overlooked as a species, and again, the numbers supported us adding that. It's strictly an economic disaster, not anything to do with COVID.
Well, you have a whereas financial impacts from COVID-19 pandemic continue to impact the fishing community significantly, and ex-vessel prices were considerably lower in 2020 than previous recent years, further compounding economic hardships of the community. So
yeah, it's basically about the economic impact of the run and the catch in 2020. And again, you guys approved the Chinook sockeye for the Copper River, and we've been requested to add the pink and I believe chum, if that was overlooked, but definitely pink salmon. So right now what they have is everything here except for pink salmon and maybe one other species. So we're adding 2 species to the original one that was submitted to the state and subsequently submitted to the Department of Commerce.
So again, why is the COVID in there?
Councilman Guard?
COVID costs for our seine fleet, half our price of our fish was in COVID costs. We had 25 cents a pound in COVID costs, the plant that didn't come out to the fishermen. So I guess we could count that as being COVID impact. But yeah, there were costs. Plant costs were higher. And that comes out of the bottom line to the fishermen.
Yeah, I think that's what, so they said that wholesale and retail prices were like record prices, but the fishermen were getting, and that happened just all across the food chain. The actual producers were getting almost nothing. So the collapse, the price for fishermen.
And the catch was significantly lower. I think that's the driver, which, as you say, had nothing to do with COVID. The catch was significantly lower.
Yeah, it was just another compounding thing, but could certainly amend it to strike that one warehouse.
If you don't want to make this change, there already is an approved resolution that has been submitted, and this just updates with additional species of salmon for 2020. So there is an existing resolution this would replace.
And that existing resolution had that COVID clause, right?
Basically the exact same thing. We got this language from CDFU, and this was their ask of us, the initial one and then the subsequent one.
Other discussion, council? Okay, I'm not sure if that answered your question, Councilman Baylor. Okay.
Call for the question.
Yeah, hearing none. Roll call vote, please.
Kathy Sherman is absent. Jeff Guard?
Yes.
David Gleason is absent. Ann Schaefer?
Yes.
David Allison is absent. Tom Baylor?
No.
Melina Meyer?
Yes.
Which one are it? Passes 3-0.
Okay, yep, 3-1, right?
I mean 3-1, sorry.
Okay, and next item is Resolution 07-21-34, and that is a resolution of the Council of the City of Cordova, Alaska, approving the license for a mobile restaurant for Vic Ellie, if I'm pronouncing that right? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion, Guard, second, Baylor. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councilman Guard?
Nope, it looks like everything was in order. Always nice to have more options for a place to eat, so I'm in favor.
Okay, and to your second, Councilman Baylor?
So did I read somewhere there was an issue with the length? Is that been resolved? Or I didn't even know that the length was the problem.
Yeah, I think, clerk just added language to the resolution that acknowledges that it was exceeded the code length, but council recognized that and approves it.
Okay. I'm good.
Okay, other discussion, council, online?
This is Councilman Schaefer.
Councilman Schaefer?
Yeah, my only question was in the memo and the background information, it says that the truck is 7 feet longer and 8 inches wider. So I was just wanting to make sure that was included in the resolution.
It is in the last paragraph.
Is it an E
No,
incorporated into those dimensions and under E?
now for their, let it be resolved.
Yeah, it's in the very end,
Oh,
therefore,
I get
let
it. Okay, I'm sorry. I was looking at the bullet point E and not, okay, that sounds good to me then.
yeah, we just kind of did a little quick review right before the meeting, actually, to see that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Councilman Baylor?
I guess just maybe we can get an answer later. I'm just wondering what the length and width has to do other than perhaps if it's parked on a city street, a width might be, but it's not going to hold me up. I'll vote on this, but maybe I can get that answered at a later date. I'm just curious on that. But I could see if it was on a public street, but if it was on a individual lot, I don't see what the problem would be. Is that, you're shaking your head, is that what the issue is?
Yeah, I mean.
It's
he's
in
on-
code, and
Yeah.
maybe it's something to review. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councilman Guard?
I think the 8-foot width has to do with legal widths for roadworthy, because anything over 8 feet, don't we have to have a wide load?
I think so.
Or, so
There's some reasons, but
that's
Okay.
all I've ever been able to come up with on it.
thank you.
Okay. Other discussion, council? Okay, it doesn't sound like there's been any objections, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. We'll get to discussion here pretty quick, where we don't have a lot left on the agenda, and then you can make a comment at the end. Thank you. Okay, we don't have any unfinished business. Have council appointment, the mayor or for others to serve as members of the CCMC Joint Administrative Negotiations Team. Councilman Guard.
I move to appoint the mayor to the
Second.
negotiation team.
Second.
Have a motion, Guard, and second, Baylor. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councilman Guard?
I think you have the background. I think you have the will to see this come through, so I think you'd be a fine person to represent the council's interests on the negotiating team.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Baylor, to your second.
Yeah, and yeah, I guess this is moving forward. I just was curious and throwing out some just for discussion here. We got negotiating team. I'm not sure what that implies. I almost, and I think somewhere around here, the medical staff is also going to be on this team, correct?
Yes.
Which, if you read down further, that person definitely would have a conflict of interest financially, either being relieved from their duty or hired for if they ever took over. So I'm not
So,
following that process.
can I ask one question? Which position were you saying would have a conflict? Just so I'm,
Well, the hospital administrator would.
yeah, but that's her paid position to represent.
Right, but you
Hospital.
put her in a position to transfer this to somebody else, right?
Yeah,
Is what we're trying to do.
right. So I think the intent was to have CCMC board member and council member, mayor, as the community representatives, and then city manager and CCMC executive as the knowledgeable party of the operations of the entity, so that information would be in the room when negotiations were happening. So, and this has been, the team was vetted by both Holly, our attorney, who recommended that to you all in your group session, your joint meeting, or your executive session, and also Joan Travestino, who is the attorney that has helped Wrangell and other communities sell hospitals. And this is the type of team that is recommended be in place to provide maximum information. But at no point is any one individual involved in the decision. So I think that was the intent, is that it would be a collective group effort with knowledgeable parties in the room. So hopefully that, I think both attorneys have said there's no conflict in that arrangement.
And that doesn't, I guess, supersede or undermine council's ultimate decision-making.
Right. We are making recommendations to council on how this process, or what the final outcome might look like, and you guys will be making the decision, the final decision on whether it's approved or not. So council, and maybe when we say negotiations team, we are negotiating, but negotiating so that a decision both on MVE will be having to present to their council, and we would, on the city side, we would have to present to council, and the transaction could not be finalized without the approval of both bodies.
Okay, yeah, and I'm not going to object to this. I want to see this move forward, but when you read down further, it says, somebody can't have a conflict. And I want, particularly Dr. Sanders, I believe, would be on it, and I think it would be excellent. But it does say, and there's no way in my mind that there isn't some kind of conflict there. And, but I'm not saying take her off of it. I just bring that up because I'm thinking, and I'm sure others are thinking, wait a minute. So I think your explanation is fine. The lawyers are good with it. Because I was looking at this almost like a transition team. You're trying to transition from the city-run hospital over to, Native Health.
Right, and I think at this point, there's no offer on the table, so there's not yet even an understanding of what it is that we will be working to accomplish. So,
right.
And so we're in the very early stages of that. But again, our attorneys have identified this as an appropriate team to start the process, and as we go, yeah.
Right. Well, and this has been brought up. We've been talking about this for a while, and this has been brought up by the public. So I just want to bring that point home again with Dr. Sanders. You have the representative that understands the hospital needs, the transition that it would take. So this isn't council, stepping out of their lane and
Right.
doing this. That's just kind of for public consumption is
Sure.
the team that we have. And so I support it. I just wanted to bring those points out.
Okay. Councilman Guard.
I was just going to say that the negotiations are not for who's going to be running whatever entity may come out the other end. The negotiations are between the city of Cordova and NVE to see if there's any property going to change hands or any agreements for joint operations come out. I mean, we have no idea what's going to happen yet. I don't know that I see a conflict of interest in it.
Well, if you might be replaced, that would be a conflict. So, well, good. I'm glad with it.
Okay, other discussion, Melina or Councilman Schaefer or Meyer?
Yeah, this is Melina.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is a good first step. I think sometimes in the language with negotiating, I think directly of negotiating a sale too, but I think this is really a first step into fact finding to see what it would look like, and I'm really confident in the team who's on it that can ask the right questions and try to anticipate all the impacts, negative and positive, and be able to work out that so that we can get good information as council with our body and also for NDE council. So it's good. I'm excited for it.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Schaefer, any comments or discussion, I mean?
No, I'm in support of, I think this is a good step to move forward and get the infrastructure, in place for, whatever we end up doing with the hospital. And I also am in support of the mayor as serving on the committee.
Okay, thank you. I haven't, so good discussion for clarification, and I haven't heard any objection. So all those in favor?
Aye.
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 I heard one aye online. Could I hear those again?
Oh, sorry, I wasn't on mute. This is Lena. Aye.
Okay. The appointment passes. Do we have any discussion of COVID-19 emergency response, Council?
I'll just a comment. I spoke with somebody that was going to come give me a hand. They said, oh, I got to quarantine somebody in their group. I said, well, they should get shots. Oh, they weren't able to get shots. And I'm like, I think everybody that wanted shots was able to get shots at one point. And
Still
correct me
is,
if I'm
yeah.
wrong.
No, definitely anyone who wants to get a vaccine just needs to go on either the Elanca or CCMC website, and there's a button you can push to enter your name, and someone will call you and let you know when appointments are available. So definitely everyone who feels comfortable should get vaccinated. It's free, it's easy, and it definitely will make a difference.
Okay, thanks for that comment, Councilman Baylor. Other comments, Council? Or COVID discussion? Okay, so just a reminder, as Manager Howarth pointed out, we have 13 active cases now, and it's community spread. So pending agenda, CIP list, calendar, or elected and appointed officials list. We've been chipping away at the pending agenda, so. All right, hearing none, audience participation. So if you'd like to, if anybody in the audience would like to speak to any items or any decision, now's your time. And if you could just come up to the microphone and you can just state your name and residence for the record. Thank you.
Well, my name is Victor Alday, and I can here try to make a business in Cordova because all my life I fisherman. But in the meantime, I have a restaurant in Seattle. Been for 15 years. I know my food. Now I retire. That's the reason I want to live here in Cordova and showing you who I am. Good flavor. Nobody die. Good. And very good health. No grease, because that's how I do it for 15 years in Seattle when I have a restaurant. Everybody tell me, Victor, the food is good. Victor, that's how I feel. Right now, I older, my knee, my shoulder. I worked for 60 years fisherman. I got 75. All my life fisherman. Right now, it's time for me, gift for young people. Look another job, I like to cook. But you help me here, I want to help you. My food is the best. Nobody complain. My plane, when you eat it, clean it. No, I don't need the watch. Very well, that's the guy grow up. In Seattle, I have a restaurant called the Courthouse, almost half a block, every day for 7 years, 200 people, lunch, all lady. The lady always tell me, Victor, good food. That's the guy can hear. The time I want to get my food is good. That's the guy tell you. I worked for 4 years in a couple of the Pallet House. 5 de Mayo, almost 4 years ago, for 5 years in the road, The 4 o'clock, 9 o'clock, I make order 200 dishes, all in 5 hours. And then everybody happy. That's the reason I wanted you agree with me, live here, because I live here right now. And then I sit in Cordova too. That's why I like this town. I from Chile. I grew up a fisherman when I had 12. Now I have 75, enough for me. My body, no more. I look at my mirror and say, well, I look at young, but the inside, a lot of pain. That's a good decide, make a cook. Maybe another 15, 10 years, whatever God give me to me, I better have it for you guys. That's what I want to tell you.
Great. Well, thank you very much. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, you admire, you look like you see. See, I tell people when I have a restaurant, the food is good, Victor? Oh, yeah. How can you know? If you eat, look at the plate, empty. That's my guarantee. He said, no problem. My food is good, never complain. I cook in the boat too, for long line for 35 years in Alaska. I work on Roll Wilson for 10 years. Everybody cooking, for everybody I cook. Everything is good. Nobody die. That's good for me.
Okay, great. Well, we'll look forward to it. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, 25. He got another guy from the Tyler company, the fire plane. They say put in the hook. This is the machine. It's a computer. It's $8,000. That's all I need. Can 24. After that, my taco truck, rock and roll.
Okay,
I work
great.
every day. 6 in the morning, 8 o'clock. I fisherman. I can't sleep at 5 in the morning. I can't sleep no more. I sleep 5 hours a day, that's it. But I guarantee I can appreciate you when you give me opportunity enjoying here with you guys. You don't feel bad. I know my food is good. That's all I can tell you. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank
All right, thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Other audience comments? Okay, hearing none, go to council comments. I'll start online. Councilman Meyer.
No comments. Thanks.
Okay, Councilman Schaefer.
I'd like to welcome Kevin Johnson. Welcome to town, and I look forward to meeting you. Also, a big thank you to John Bitney and for everyone on staff for all the hard work on our harbor upgrade project. That's really good news at a time when other budget items are a little bit unclear and uncertain, so that was exciting. And yeah, just to echo what was said earlier, I'd like to encourage anyone who hasn't been vaccinated yet to go get vaccinated. Contact the Sierra Lanka, or, fill in the online form, and we'll get you all set up. And yeah, if you're feeling symptomatic or you've been in close contact with someone, we know what to do. Quarantine, get tested. Take care of yourselves and others. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Gard.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to welcome our new planner home. Welcome home. It's good to have you here. Again, I'd like to reiterate what Councilmember Schaefer was saying about our lobbyist, John Bitney. There haven't been as many things go right this year as we'd like to have had, but John has been one of the ones that brought home the bacon to us for what he had. We almost didn't have him in the budget when we were trying to figure out how to scramble and make budget numbers work. So I really appreciate everything he did for us down there this year for less compensation than he has done in the past. So that's that.
All right. Councilman Baylor.
Yeah, let's, well, shout out to the harbor for getting that ramp fixed on the north fill there. I use it. A lot of people use it. I was getting a lot of calls, so I'm glad we got that section in there. Also to the Public Works Department, boy, some of our roads look like a quilt, the patches that they put in, but thank you very much for making those efforts and making it better. I know it's a lot of work. I see these guys out my window scrambling, and they do a good job, and thanks for doing the best they can with what they have to work with. That's it.
Points. Okay, so we don't have executive session, so only one item left on the agenda.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, we're adjourned